That's 12 and a half, more than we could have hoped for in Montmartre this year.
Francis Bourdin is optimistic. The grapes contain over 12% sugar, and the enologist for Montmartre's vineyard is hoping this will give a badly needed boost to Parisian wine's reputation. There are over 40 vineyards in Paris and around 150 others in the Ile de France region. 2,000 vines grow along the northern hilltop area of Montmartre, just a stone's throw away from the Sacré-Cœur.
The vineyard was planted in the 1930s by local artists in memory of the vines that once covered all the hills along the River Seine.
And now it's the Paris City Council gardeners harvesting the grapes. The Montmartre vineyard produces between 1,000 and 2,000 bottles of full-bodied red wine per year.
For the past 15 years or so, I have been really committed to trying to make a good wine that's relatively drinkable, whilst bearing in mind the old customs and traditions.
With 300 hectolitres of wine per year, wine production in Paris and the Ile de France region is pretty informal and relaxed. It's often part of a local ritual or tradition. In Paris's 11th arrondissement, the Grape Harvest Festival consists of just one vine. It belongs to Jacques MELAC.
This vine comes from the Aveyron region, from a small village called Bouzol. My father gave me this little piece of wood in 1977, and it grew like potatoes in a cellar, and came out here. It grew and grew all the way around the bistro.
Jacques MELAC only produces 15 to 20 bottles per year, and it's just for fun.
When you taste it, you think of the Champs-Élysées, Montmartre, the Sacré-Cœur, the Bois de Vincennes, all the great Bordeaux wines, and the Bourgognes, and all the others. They should watch out, because the wines from Paris are going to give them a run for their money.
Jacques MELAC could not have put it better. There has been a revival of wine-growing activities in the Ile de France region over the past 20 years or so. And there are now 12 hectares of vineyards in the region. Most of them are looked after by local groups. Pierre Facon is one of the rare individuals who makes his own wine. It's a sparkling wine.
We don't even have the right to use a designation crémant, which is for specific appellations. We have to call it a sparkling wine.
He planted 600 vines in Neuilly-Plaisance and picks enough grapes to make 600 to 800 bottles per year.
This wine was submitted to blind tests and compared to a number of champagnes and crémants, and in some instances it fared a lot better than the champagnes.
Philippe DEFLEUR is a sommelier. He also champions wine from Paris and the Ile de France region, and in particular the Parc de Saussay vineyard in Seine-Saint-Denis, which was planted in 2004.
I'm quite surprised, because it's a well-balanced wine with a lovely fruity aroma and a spicy undertaste. Obviously, we're not going to be making great vintage wines. That's not the aim. But at least we can hold up our heads high and say that in the Ile de France region, we make tasty wines with a lot going for them.
But this isn't enough for certain cultivators who want the Ile de France region to be recognised as a professional wine-growing region, as it was up until the mid-20th century before urbanisation took over.
Around 10 cultivators have come forward and asked our Ile de France Wine Growers Association what they need to do to become wine growers. Most of them want to actually make wine, an actual Ile de France wine.
But the problem is that in France, the wine market is rigorously regulated, and with the strict supply and demand structure in place, it's very difficult to set up new wine plantations. Patrice BERSAC has pretty modest objectives, however. He's hoping the association will be allocated around 100 hectares on which to plant grapevines.
What's 100 hectares for wine plantations in the Ile de France region compared to the 840,000 hectares over the national territory? We have a good chance of obtaining these plantation rights, and in a few years from now, we'll be producing a local Ile de France wine.
So the region could well become France's 11th wine-producing region and obtain the PGI, the European Union's Protected Geographical Indication classification, which will give winemakers from Paris and the Ile de France region a professional status, and they will be able to sell their wine, something they're not currently permitted to do. The town of Suresnes is the exception, though, and was given authorization to sell their local wine in 1998, before the new legislation was introduced. Patrice BERSAC is hoping that from 2012 the legislation will be relaxed, making it possible to plant more vines, so that in 2016 the first Paris and Ile de France wines will be hitting the market.